Organized labor says it cannot guarantee industrial harmony by the end of May 2024. A new minimum wage is not in place. At the celebration of Workers' Day in Abuja, the labor unions gave federal government 7 days to reverse the recent increase in electricity tariff. Joke Adisa reports.
Since 1980, when Nigeria joined other nations to commemorate May 1st as Workers' Day, it has not looked back. Every year, workers use the opportunity of the celebration to speak to their challenges and success stories. This year, it is the first for the Bola Tinubu's administration, and the president is represented here by the Vice President Kashim Shettima. Organized labor conveyed workers' dissatisfaction over the increasing economic hardship that is biting hard on the people. They are even more worried that a new minimum wage is yet to be decided and consequently issued a deadline.
Should the minimum wage negotiation continue and linger till the end of May, we can no longer guarantee industrial harmony in this country.
Organized labor is equally not pleased with the recent hike in electricity tariff.
The NLC and TUC hereby advise NEC and power sector operators to reverse the last increase in electricity tariff within the next 1 week.
But the government says it is not oblivious of the challenges the nation faces and promises to continue to prioritize citizens' welfare.
To reassure Nigerian workers that we are working diligently around the clock with organized labor to conclude negotiations and ensure a successful outcome. The Nigerian workers should be rest assured that despite the short delay, the minimum wage will take effect on from 1st May 2024.
The federal government convened a 37-member tripartite committee on minimum wage. The committee's mandate was to provide counsel and suggest a national minimum wage that aligns with our current economic conditions. Unfortunately, despite concerted efforts, the committee was unable to reach a consensus at its last meeting. These shall be resolved soon, and I assure you that your days of worrying are over. Indeed, this government is open to the committee's suggestion of not just a minimum wage, but a living wage.
Organized labor and the federal government certainly have a lot to discuss in the coming days, going by the timelines issued by the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress on increased electricity tariff and the quest for a new minimum wage. Joke Adisa, TVC News, Abuja.
Lawyer Ivan Sofeli joins me on the news for more on this development. Organized labor is saying they can't guarantee industrial harmony if by the end of this month a new minimum wage hasn't commenced. Talk to us about the provision of the law, because we're hearing that the current minimum wage of 30,000 naira actually expired last month.
Yes, the laws of industrial relations in this country is one that is quite very stiff, because we practice a dual system of wages here in this country, which is quite in itself illegal and discriminatory. There's a different wage for the workers, and there's a different one for the leaders, the political leaders, okay, of the country and all that. And that for me spells the disparity and the injustice, the socio-economic injustice that we have instilled in the country. I find it rather disturbing that you find people who have put in experience, long years, labor, have been in meritorious service for so long in the civil service, and they are unable to, get a befitting a wage, something that is good enough to take them home. Whereas you have people who contested election, they've not been just few years into office, and they have wealth of questionable, and they have resources, throwing money all over the place and around. It shows you that we practice a socio-economic imbalance, one that lacks equilibrium, one that is not properly organized to solve the problems of society. And if that is not positively addressed in this time, Labour, they have said they can no longer guarantee industrial harmony. And the federal government have been making promises all the time. They make promises all the time.
Indeed,
I think that
indeed, Mr.
come.
Philly, my question really would be that is there a provision, is there a timeline given by law when, you know, a minimum wage expires before which a new one must be implemented?
There's no time lag. There's no time lag. All they need to do is to look at the economic realities of the country. As at the time minimum wage was fixed at the 30,000 naira, which is a long time ago, the socio-economic reality of the country has changed. Pricing, demand, and supply have taken new dynamics. Okay, society has get into other levels of things, and population have also corresponsively increased beyond what it were at that time.
I'm also
30,000 naira can buy at that time is not what it can buy now. Inflation has also kicked in and all that.
I'm also
the
wondering,
value of the naira is not what it used to be.
Mr. Philly, if this law compels employers to pay the agreed minimum wage, because as at the time it was 30,000 naira, some state governments still had issues paying it. Is there a penalty? And you must have heard Labour also suggesting 615,000 naira. That's the initial figure they are bringing to the table. Does the law compel, because this will engage not only government, but also private employers, does the law compel them to pay this figure once it's agreed upon?
Well, if whatever is agreed upon is what should be paid, are you saying does the law empowers or make it compulsory for private businesses to also pay same? Is that what you're saying, Accent?
Exactly.
There's no law whatsoever that compels them, because the private citizen is a businessman who is trying to maximize profit and minimize costs as much as possible. It can only influence their own wages, okay? But as we speak, most private organizations are actually paying more than the minimum wage, and there are those who are paying below, and there's a shortfall. But there's no specific law, okay? Because the truth is that they are not also economically, and they are not giving funds. The government does not provide funds for them to pay their workers. And they will pay based on what comes in and goes out, based on inputs and outputs, okay? Other socioeconomic variables must be considered in their own case. But that of government is statutory. And because it's statutory, the government must make an increase and yield to it. And governors who say they do not, they cannot pay and they still cannot pay are all telling lies. These are all lies. There's no state in Nigeria that is not buoyant enough to pay the minimum wage that is so agreed on. There's none. What they do is that they are involved in too much wastages and diversionary projects, that they do not remember that the human capital of the state determines the advancement of that state. The advancement in socioeconomic development of a state is tied to the human capital, and that is what comes first, because the human capital is both a mental construct and one that guarantees the activity to advance the human condition of the state.
Indeed.
And if that is not properly taken care of, the state now runs into troubled waters.
Indeed.
So governors who say they cannot pay, they're all lying, and those who have defaulted all true. Once they lose their immunity, they should be prosecuted for not complying with industrial labor laws of the country.
Hopefully this tripartite committee can come up with a living wage, because no matter how much money you quote, what really matters is what that money can buy in the market. So there are quite a number of other factors that government also has to work on. Even Sofeli,
very well,
legal practitioner, thank you so much for talking to us.
You're welcome.
We're back with more stories.